said, well, once you go through the administrative court, if you try to appeal to the federal courts pretend that you've already had a trial by jury. The federal courts are pretending that the trial by this kangaroo court is a trial by jury, so they turn down your appeals. I said, well, there must be a way to get around that. He said, well, there is. What you have to do is you have to waive your right to trial by jury, and if you waive your right to trial by jury, and they find you guilty of something and you appeal, the federal court must accept the appeal. What he realized, and what you must realize, is this, is that here sits the Supreme Court. Below the Supreme Court sits a bunch of these so-called law clerks out of Yale University or Georgetown or somewhere. Those are all lefties. You can't get past the law clerks. So your appeals are turned down, but the lefties, they have no trouble running right through Roe versus Wade, run up to the court. The court's always hearing their appeals, but the appeal from a businessman is turned away at the lowest level, at the law clerk level. It never gets to the U.S. Supreme Court. But if you waive your right to trial by jury, when confronted by one of these agencies, the court must accept the appeal. Well, I needed to find some brave soul to do that. And I did. I found a guy up in Idaho. I told him what to do and how to do it, and well, he was all for it. Okay, great. Just an ordinary guy. OSHA came in, and as I instructed him, he told him to leave, to go get a warrant. They came back with a warrant. The warrant was signed by an administrative law judge in OSHA, not a federal magistrate, not a member of the court, but by the warrant was signed by someone in the agency. Now, obviously, this is not a warrant. They came back, he threw him out again. So they sued him and charged him with whatever they wanted to charge him with, not submitting, I guess. And he sued them. Well, it went through their court, and the U.S. Supreme Court, since he alleged that they were violating the Fourth Amendment, this right to be secure in your purses, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures, he alleged they were violating the Fourth Amendment. The U.S. Supreme Court had to accept the case. They did accept the case, and they did make a ruling. The ruling was, and this applies to all the agencies, the ruling by the U.S. Supreme Court when they had the rule was that OSHA and all of the rest of the agencies were violating the Fourth Amendment and could not enter your business or anywhere else without a valid warrant. That was the ruling. Now, when that ruling came down, it was in the Wall Street Journal. Well, you know, these big companies who've been kowtowing and lawyering all the time, they began kicking out the FCC, OSHA, EPA, and all the rest of them. All hell was going to break loose. It was going to stop their bureaucracy, including ATF. Stop them in their tracks. But what happened was that the liberals in Congress got together real quick like and passed a law which said that you could not waive your right to trial by jury, that you first had to go before the administrative court, which put you right back where you were before. Which is to say, my friends, that my efforts and the efforts of Bill Barlow, which is what his name was, were significant, but in a sense it appears that they were wasted. Because after going through hundreds of thousands of dollars in expense, after getting to the U.S. Supreme Court, after having a ruling which would have stopped all of the agencies from these illegal searches and seizures, the Congress turned around and undid it and said you couldn't waive your right to trial by jury. Now that taught me a lesson, and it ought to teach you a lesson. How to get something done.